the Saints may finally have a successor to Drew Brees. On Thursday, a report emerged that quarterback Teddy Bridgewater has elected to re-sign with New Orleans despite taking a free agent visit with the Miami Dolphins. In so doing, Bridgewater may have given the Saints some stability at the quarterback position. By keeping the pending free agent around going forward, New Orleans appears to have a very talented and young infrastructure in place, including players like Michael Thomas and Alvin. Here is how observers from around the NFL reacted to the news. 13 years later, I'm trying to see if history will repeat itself in my favor at some point. Teddy Bridgewater, at Teddy_H20, March 14, 2019. On March 14, 2006, Brees signed with New Orleans as a free agent after many analysts wrote him off because of a serious shoulder injury. Now, on March 14, 2019, Bridgewater signed with the Saints as a free agent after a number of analysts wrote him off because of a serious knee injury. Both quarterbacks joined the Saints after saying no thanks to the Dolphins, no less. Bridgewater hopes he can repeat a little history as the quarterback in New Orleans. The only way Teddy Bridgewater was taking the job in Miami was if it was life-changing money, and that is not what he was offered, per source. Diana Rossini, at DianaPN, March 14, 2019. In the middle of the week, Bridgewater visited with the Miami Dolphins about an opportunity to become their starting quarterback, but ultimately the Miami native elected to return to New Orleans, for reasons pertaining to a potential starting job and also for financial reasons. The Dolphins could have signed Teddy, if they offered him more. With a one-year deal for Teddy, may not quite be accurate to say, heir apparent to Brees, at least right now. Sean Fazenda-Fox8, at Scene Fazenda-Fox8, March 14, 2019. After the Saints orchestrated the trade for Bridgewater, league analysts sounded convinced that the young quarterback would eventually succeed Drew Brees as the starter. And while that still may be the case long-term, for right now, Bridgewater is just on a one-year deal before he sees what exactly transpires ahead of the 2020 season. One-year contract makes sense. We keep him in the building and let him develop. If Brees retires, you sign him long-term with starter money. If Brees continues, you have the option to sign him as a backup for another season. Flexibility on both sides. AllSaintsConsider.com, at AllSaintsBlog, March 14, 2019. Bridgewater gets another year in the Saints system behind Drew Brees and learning how the team does things, in addition to an opportunity to personally connect with teammates, as well as take practice reps with their talented offensive playmakers. Brees may retire after 2019, meaning the Saints have an experienced option ready to step in his place. If you would have told me 2 months ago the Saints were going to keep Teddy Bridgewater, I would have thought you were crazy. I really like the move to keep him around though. Luke Johnson, at @ByLukeJohnson, March 12, 2019. Going into the offseason, it was widely expected that the Saints would have to move on from Bridgewater given the kind of money they would have to pay him to stay around and sit on the bench behind Drew Brees for at least another year, and perhaps 2. But the team appears to believe that they have their long-term replacement for Brees already in the building. I asked Saints head coach Sean Payton at Combine who he was going after at quarterback, knowing Drew Brees could be done soon. He said, "I have my guy. His name is Teddy Bridgewater." The Saints acquired Bridgewater last August in a trade with the Jets, and it looks like they really like what they got. The 2019 Saints draft is already amazing. 1 Street, Marcus Davenport 3rd, Teddy Bridgewater 4th, Eli Apple, that's young day, future QB and starting CB at locked-in cost for 2 years. That's a goddamn A. Last year, they swapped a first with the Packers for a shot at Marcus Davenport, then a third for Bridgewater in a deal with the Jets, and then did a trade with the Giants in which they got Apple for a 4th-rounder. Davenport and Apple have already proved worthwhile additions, but the Bridgewater acquisition is yet to be judged. With FA running like mad, Bridgewater staying will be a footnote nationally, but the Saints just set their course at QB post Brees. It's massive. Ralph Malbrough, at Saints forecast, March 12, 2019. The free agency period has already been very active, even before the start of the league year, and with the Saints staying relatively quiet, but New Orleans is prepared to make a move that could help define the very direction of the franchise for years to come by securing who they believe is their quarterback going forward. The best chance to start right away for Teddy Bridgewater was to leave in free agency. The best chance to lay the foundation to be a long-term starter for Teddy Bridgewater was to stay in New Orleans. It will take patience, but this could well pay off in a major way. Field Yates, at Field Yates, March 12, 2019. Bridgewater elected to remain in New Orleans despite knowing full well that he would have to wait at least a year, if not two, to become an NFL starter again. Brees will return in 2019, and it is not out of the picture that he could play again in 2020, meaning that Bridgewater would be sitting on the bench for a while before he goes under center. It's also quite a leap of faith. At the very least, he's committing to a fourth season on the sideline since his injury. And what if Drew Brees wants to play in 2020? It could be preferable to signing with a team that isn't ready to compete. https://t.co/babexfotexer, Kevin Seifert, at Seifertespin, March 12, 2019. An important aspect to remember about Bridgewater and his career is that he suffered a serious knee injury during a practice before the 2016 season began, when he was in Minnesota. In the end, Bridgewater appears to believe that sitting as a quarterback and waiting for a team in contention is better than being a higher-paid starter for a team going nowhere. Many expected Teddy Bridgewater, 26, to move on from. Think of this though: Kamara, 23, Thomas, 26, Davenport, 22, Lattimore, 22, Ramczyk, 24, Rankins, 24, a strong core of above-average elite players, 26. He gets reins in 2020. Deuce Wyndham, at Rev Deuce Wyndham, March 12, 2019. The Saints have a young core of talented players that they can build on in the future, including the likes of Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Marshawn Lattimore, and Marcus Davenport. Adding Bridgewater to this mix would lead us to believe that New Orleans has the infrastructure to move into a new generation of Saints football. When players re-sign in New Orleans for less money because of the culture and a chance to win, it's crazy to think how different the Saints were perceived at the start of the 2017 season. Massive change. It can be so underrated how important work environments are to happiness. Andrew Doak, at Andrew Doak. WWL, March 12, 2019. Back before the 2017 season, most people around the NFL liked to joke that the Saints were on course for another 7-9 season, including fans from Atlanta, whose team had just played in the Super Bowl. But since then, New Orleans is regarded as among the most elite teams in football, having been in contention for a world championship in each of the last 2 seasons. Players want to come to New Orleans precisely because they can win.